What's up everyone, my name's PlatinumHowler, coach of your Delta Gligars. Today I am bringing you my Week 3 match of the APA Academy versus Vepsis and his Helsinki Hydreigons. You can see his team over on the right side of the screen. Out here we call Vepsis the Finnish Flash because he's 9 hours ahead over in Finland, and he's the Flash because he's off to the league's fastest start. Through 2 weeks, 2-0, plus 10 differential. That is ridiculous. It is still very early, but he is clearly the top dog through 2 weeks of this season, and if we can manage to take him down this week, potentially we could take his place as the top dog in the league. Once again, bringing a very similar team from the teams we've brought in past weeks. Through 3 weeks so far, I've only brought 8 of my 11 Mons on my roster. But aside from that, we're going to get right into it. We have Torkoal here, which is max physically defensive and can take on things such as Cobalion. Cobalion is the number one thing because Cobalion is the biggest stop that he has to my Weavile and my Mimikyu, which I will get to. So this team this week is not dependent on the sun being up. Last week it absolutely was. Venusaur was the main sun abuser. We don't have 8 turns of sun this time. Instead, we brought Torkoal with heavy-duty boots so that we can switch in against and get rocks off the field easier. If Cobalion wants to be the one to set the rocks, then we can come in on that pretty comfortably and threaten him out. If the rocks are up, then we can spin them away as long as he doesn't switch into his G-Max Gengar. He has a lot of fighting weaknesses on his team. Cobalion, Hydreigon, Mamoswine, Snorlax, all 4 very strong Mons that share a fighting weakness, so Body Press is going to be doing a lot of damage to them. You can click Lava Plume to threaten Burn on any of his physical attackers. And so we have Stomping Tantrum. You might be wondering, why would you be running a physical attack on a Torkoal? I mean, Torkoals are always special attacking. Well, if you look at his base stats, he's got the same base attack as base special attack. So Stomping Tantrum isn't that crazy here, and the reason why we're running it is because if he has a Flareon on his end, believe it or not, Flareon is quite powerful. It has base 130 attack, which I believe is the highest, tied for the highest attack stat on his team, tied with Mamoswine. And it gets Flash Fire. So if he brings it in against Torkoal, and I click Lava Plume again on a switch, then Stomping Tantrum's power is going to be doubled, and it should be enough to KO the Flareon, because Flareon, while powerful, is actually quite frail on the physically defensive side. Stomping Tantrum could also potentially be nice against a Gengar that comes into Spin Block, although if it hasn't Gigantamaxed yet, it likely will do so against Torkoal, and Stomping Tantrum will not be a KO against that thing. Next up, making its debut for the team this week is Shiny Kermit, our Heliolisk. We are solar power, of course, although as I said, we're not dependent on the sun being up. We're not dependent on the extra power from solar power. We are Choice Scarf to hopefully outspeed the entirety of his team. I put enough speed on this to outspeed Scarfed Modest Hydreigon, because if he's bringing Scarfed Hydreigon, which he has each of the first 2 weeks so far, he's likely bringing it to outspeed a Dragon Dance Necrozma, and to do so, he doesn't need to run Timid. I very easily could have run Modest Scarfed Heliolisk to outspeed everything that I need to, but I wanted the HP investment because I want to switch this thing in against G-Max Gengar, and I want to try to pivot around him to try to waste his G-Max turns. Dark Pulse for the Gengar. If Sun is up, then we can actually 2-hit KO a Gengar in its G-Max form with Dark Pulse. Thunderbolt, Hyper Voice just for stabs, and then U-turn because we don't want to be giving Mamoswine completely free switch-ins if he's predicting an electric type move or something, so U-turn it is. The nice thing about Heliolisk here, its normal typing makes it immune to Gengar's G-Max Terror, and if Gengar wants to go for a Max Knuckle, Max Knuckle would actually be weaker than Focus Blast, more accurate but weaker, so it does not KO us. So Heliolisk should be able to live any hit that a Gmax Gengar wants to throw at me, and I could potentially U-turn out if I am baiting a Max Knuckle from him to hit me super effectively. Then I could potentially U-turn out into Mimikyu to be immune to that, and then maybe get some free setup against the Gmax Gengar on its last Gmax turn. But that would be making a very hard read, which I don't know if I'm comfortable making, because he's brought similar Gengar sets the first 2 weeks, and he didn't have Max Knuckle on either one of them, but, you know, it could be different this week. Who knows? Next up, Sandaconda. There we go. Sandaconda Gmax. I kind of am going to try to bring Sandaconda and Necrozma pretty much every week. I'm not going to lie. They're going to be on most teams because they are just, in general, the 2 best mons on my team. Because Sandaconda only is one of the best mons because it can Gmax and it can become very bulky. And it forces prep around it, so I'm bringing it. It is another good answer to his Cobalion. Very interesting set though. So first thing to note is we have Substitute on Sandaconda. You cannot Dynamax / Gigantamax with the Substitute up and keep the Substitute up. So the reason why we have this is because Rotom Mow is a pretty easy counter to Gmax Sandaconda. I can Substitute as he switches that in, then I can go for a Fire Fang as he is basically forced to click Leaf Storm to break the Substitute, and he will lower his special attack by 2 stages. And this is key because Rotom doesn't really hardly need any investment at all to KO max HP Gmax Sandaconda with Leaf Storm, which I find insane. So that's why we need the Substitute up, and for him to lower his special attack before we can Gigantamax up and click Max Flare. That'll get the Sun up for our team, but basically the only real thing that's benefiting from the Sun being up is Heliolisk, if we can get it in and fire off some solar power boosted attacks. Quake, of course, for Gmax Sandblast. It's a good move, so we have it. And then Iron Head for Steel Spike has a chance to KO Hatterene from full. I mean, like, you know, max HP Hatterene. If it's got quite a bit of defense investment, then it's not KOing. But hopefully it does. That would be nice if it does. The reason why we have that is because we don't actually have great switch-ins to Hatterene. We're not bringing our Copperajah, which would be our most likely switch-in, although also a very predictable switch-in at the same time. If he is predicting me to set up rocks, then he might switch in Hatterene against me to try to bounce them back, but I'm not even bringing rocks this week. So yeah, if I get a Substitute up and then Hatterene comes in, I will just like Dynamax up and try to KO him. Actually, you know, it depends. I might not. Yeah, no, I probably will. It makes most sense to just Dynamax up right away and try to KO him with the Steel Spike. So now we begin the trio of setup mons that you see right here. Necrozma with Air Balloon. So he brought Choice Banded Mamoswine last week, and my team is probably the weakest team to Mamoswine that you will ever see, because my only ground immunity is Togetic, as I've well documented and lamented. So our best opportunity to set up, I feel, is I'm basically banking on the fact that he's going to bring Banded Mamoswine again, because why wouldn't he? So Air Balloon is here. This would actually probably be our primary switch-in to the Mamoswine, assuming he's going to click Earthquake against us. And then we can Dragon Dance up against it if he's locked into the Earthquake. Photon Geyser will hit on the physically attacking side. Iron Head is basically strictly for the Hydreigons, but it also does more damage to a Mamoswine than Photon Geyser does. And then we have X Scissors. So X Scissors are going to hit the Rotom Mow super effectively, and it's going to hit the Hydreigon super effectively. Although we do need, we will more than likely need to be at +2 attack to KO the Hydreigon. But the cool thing is, if we get an absolute free turn of setup, then Necrozma can pretty much take any hit because of its Prism Armor ability. Like, even a Dark Pulse from Scarfed Hydreigon, like, we can set up to +2 in front of that, because Dark Pulse is only going to be doing, like, 60 to 70%. It's not doing a ridiculous amount of damage. So we can get to +2 in front of that thing, and then we should be in really good shape after that to deal a ton of damage to his team. This is not the main win condition. The main win condition is Weavile. Oh look, Weavile's also holding an air balloon, and it has Swords Dance. Swords Dance Weavile absolutely goes in against his team. One very important thing to note that was pointed out to me in prep, which I'm very glad it was, otherwise I would have fell victim to this very easily. Knockoff does not work against Gigantamax Pokemon, which is unfortunate, because otherwise I would have a very easy way of bringing something in against the Gengar while it's still Gigantamax, and I can just click Knockoff and it would go down. But I can't click Knockoff. My best attack that I can use against G-Max Gengar would be Throat Chop, and that's not doing enough damage to KO it in Gigantamax form. So, you know what? Screw it. We're not running... We're going to run Knockoff anyway, and we're going to find other ways to deal with Gengar while it has its Gigantamax turns still available to it. If we can get a Swords Dance up with Weavile, I think the game will be over. As long as he hasn't Gigantamaxed Gengar yet, because if he has, then we can't actually touch it. Knockoff is also going to be key. If he switches in Cobalion, I'm anticipating Cobalion to want to hold a Choppleberry in this game. So if we can get the Choppleberry knocked off, that will be very nice, so we can deal with it easier later in the game. We will be giving him a Justified boost, but we have Necrozma and, not necessarily Necrozma, but Sandaconda can take it on well. Torkoal can take it on well from a defensive standpoint. So I'm not too worried about giving him a Justified boost. I would be perfectly happy with just getting rid of his item, and the +1 attack is, we just have to live with it. We have Ice Shard over a more powerful Ice type attack move, because we can hit Choice Scarfed Hydreigon, which he has brought the last 2 weeks, so it's likely that he will bring it again. So Ice Shard will be able to hit that thing regardless of whether it's Scarfed or not. If it's been established that it's not Scarfed, then Low Kick will do plenty of damage to it. If it's at +2, it will certainly go down. But that does mean that our strongest attack to hit the Rotom Mow with will actually be Knockoff. Knockoff will do more damage to Rotom Mow than Ice Shard will. Hatterene, I mean, at +2, as long as he doesn't have a ton of defense investment, Knockoff has a very high chance to kill. So hopefully he doesn't bring it super physically bulky. Otherwise, that thing could be a problem and hamper one of our sweeping Mons here. Our last sweeping Mon, Mimikyu, is not holding the air balloon. It's holding a Babiri Berry, so it can live a hit from either like a Cobalion going for Iron Head or a Hydreigon going for Flash Cannon, that type of thing. So Swords Dance, Shadow Sneak. If we can get this thing in against Gengar on Gengar's last turn of Gigantamax, then that would be the turn that he breaks my disguise and I get up a Swords Dance for free, and then after that turn he will shrink back down to regular size Gengar, and Shadow Sneak will be more than enough to knock that thing out. Drain Punch, as I mentioned, very fighting weak team. Snorlax, Hydreigon, Cobalion, Mamoswine all get hit very hard by a Drain Punch. And then our last move is Phantom Force. Last week I brought Phantom Force as sort of a creative tool to deal with stalling out Gigantamax turns, but this week I'm bringing it because it's my most powerful ghost type move, and I need powerful, accurate moves to hit his team once I get the Swords Dance up. Once he's seen that I have Phantom Force instead of Shadow Claw, for example, there may become a scenario where he tries to bait a Phantom Force and then switch into Snorlax on the turn that I go for it. If he does that, then I will be more than happy to predict him trying to do that and set up another Swords Dance as he brings in Snorlax to try to go to +3 attack. He might even try switching in Hydreigon, but if I have my Babiri Berries still intact, that I'm not so scared of that, and I would probably just click Phantom Force anyway. And if he wants to switch that in, then great, I'll hit it with a Drain Punch next. Right, and the speed on this Mimikyu is enough speed to outspeed a non-scarfed modest Hydreigon. So I don't know why Hydreigon's scarfed would be knocked off by a Weavile. Who knows? If he switches it in and then switches it right back out, I don't know why he would do that, but we have speed for that. If he's bringing like a modest Life Orb or maybe like an Adamant Dragon Dance Hydreigon, then we have enough speed for that as long as its speed stat isn't boosted. That's going to be the team. Very tough matchup this week against a very strong opponent. And hopefully we can, at least if we don't win, then we don't get like 6-0'd or 4-0'd like Vepsis' previous two opponents did. And we can keep our differential positive. Currently we're at +4. So if Vepsis gets another 4-0, then we'll be right back down to neutral, and that will be a big hit. So hope you're looking forward to the game. And you will see the game tomorrow. So leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more APA team builders and battles and whatnot. And we'll see you back here tomorrow for the game.